What does the fox say? I am very excited about today's interview because for today's show, we are joined by Glowfish Interactive, a team who is working on this really cool looking twin stick platformer called TriFox. And there's a lot of things that are super cool about this game. It's the studio's first title. They've been working on this game for the last 8 years, and it's literally releasing in the next couple weeks. And as a gamer who grew up on games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, to see a game like this that pays homage to the older platformers, yet blazes their own trail is just super awesome. Anyway, enough talking. I've got a ton of questions and I can't wait to dive into TriFox. So please welcome Brecht from Glowfish Interactive to the Nerf Report.
Are you listening?
I would probably butcher this if I tried. So, twin stick shooter, 3 foxes. Please explain to the world exactly what TriFox is.
So, TriFox is a twin-stick action adventure game inspired by classic platformers. Usually, how we describe it is like think of it as what if a game like Crash Bandicoot was a twin-stick shooter, right? So we're trying to capture that vibe and spirit from those old platformer games, but in a completely different genre and with our own little twist on it. So in the game, you play as this fox who's trying to get back his stolen TV remote, and you go across like different worlds on a big adventure. And you're actually playing as a single fox where you can combine these different play styles to do the way you like, so we don't limit you whatever, so you can really mix and match and create these really cool and fun combinations. Like say I like placing turrets, but I also like getting close and personal with a hammer. You could totally do that and kind of create these really cool even tower defensive setups, or you can just go more melee, you can go more range, you can do all kinds of crazy things. And we have around 30 completely unique and different abilities that you can just mess around with, so it's really fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because in doing some research, I was reading that there's 3 different classes. You got the engineer, the warrior, and the mage. And as you mentioned, you can kind of combine them together to kind of make like a hybrid class. But each class kind of has its own style. Like when I was looking at the engineer, it was very tower defensive, where you could like put down turrets and let your items kind of do the defending. Whereas like the warrior was more of a hack and slash kind of going at it, and mage was shooting off magic. Do I still have to press the X or the A button or whatever platform I'm talking about to kind of get myself to swing, or is it just point the right stick in the right direction and the sword starts swinging?
So you have 4 different slots and you map them the way you like them, so you can create like your little what works best for you, and you actually perform the actions, right? And you can chain them together and whatnot, but what you can do then is quickly do like a hit, and then I'm gonna fire like this energy bolt from the mage, right, that then pierces everything, and then I'm gonna use this like orb that sucks all the enemies towards you, and then like I'll do a whirlwind, and you can really chain those different things together. And if you then mix in and create like a triple hybrid is what we call it, right, then you have like a flamethrower turret, like pop a flame turret next to it to kind of finish it off and make like a little barbecue. So yeah, but you have full control over everything that you're doing as a character.
Well, I'm definitely excited to play this. It captured my imagination with kind of everything that was going on in the trailer, and I'm looking forward to it because I think it's a super unique concept. On your end, looking back on the development of this game, what was the highlight? I mean, what has been the best part of making this game so far?
The best part? Oh, that's actually a tricky question. Usually they are like, what's the worst part or the trickiest part? The best part is that we've been having fun basically from the prototype, because we've always built it in a way that it's always playable, and we add things on top of it, and we add systems that all work together. So we often find ourselves when we're playtesting that we kind of get lost and like messing around with, like, especially personally I really like the engineer playstyle, so I often find myself just placing a bunch of mines, and you can also place all your structures on the walls, right? So it's not just like place it on the floor and these pre-placed things. No, you can, if you have like a wall surface, you can place your turret on top of that, and you can even like start climbing on it somewhat and create like these really cool setups, kind of like traps, or like try to reach hidden areas in unique ways. So yeah, that's probably been the most fun part, is just messing around with all the different mechanics that we have.
And as far as like in-game worlds go, I know I saw 3 of them on your Steam page. I believe we had the island, the wasteland, and the mountains. Are those going to still be primarily the main 3, or are you expanding upon that when the game releases?
So in the game, there's three and maybe a fourth one, but like a very tiny one. But we have these three different biomes, and those are basically the locations that you chase the baddies, and they're all also like that nostalgia factor kind of they somewhat feel familiar, but we did our own take on it. You know, the mountains is like this really icy, snowy environment. The wasteland is like this deserty, mechanically more industrial environment, and then the island, you know, harkens back to, you know, Crash Bandicoot and those kind of games, like the more tropical vibe locations.
You've mentioned Crash Bandicoot. I mean, that's harking to a very treasured time of my childhood. I absolutely loved those games. You got Crash, you got Spyro. We also had a few others out there. Do you have a favorite when it comes to 3D platformers in the industry?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I mean Crash, because I started with Crash, and like Spyro, of course. Like usually the PlayStation ones, because I was a PlayStation guy. But my colleague, one of my colleagues, was a Nintendo guy, so we kind of have, you know, a bit of the DNA from all of them. But we're not trying to be those games, right? We're just using them as kind of, you know, a template for the vibe, for the feeling that you get, right? Like when you look at it, and like the music and like the, you know, that kind of thing.
What are the mechanics of the game? So obviously you're trying to defeat the enemies that are coming at you. Is it round based, like survive as long as you can? Are there different is there different levels that you have to complete? What are players looking at on that end?
So in TriFox is basically a fully handcrafted adventure. So you go through the different levels. Some levels have a mini boss at the end of each world. You know, you have like a big boss that you need to fight, and you kind of plow your way on the trail of the baddies, trying to get your stuff back to eventually, you know, perhaps find the big baddie and defeat him and get your remote back. So it's like a really traditional kind of adventure single player story.
I was also reading last night that this is Glowfish Interactive's first game, correct?
Yes. It's the first game that we made ourselves, and completely from start to finish.
How has that been? I mean, like, that's like your first baby, right? Like, this is coming out. How long have you been working on TriFox for?
We've been working on TriFox for a long time. I think we worked on it for 8 years, but I wasn't working on it for full time, right? So because we were a little startup, so we did contract work. We worked on other games in the meantime for other studios, helping them out, trying to fund this, and, you know, and keep it going, right? But over that period, we always kept things moving, so we always kept progressing and adding stuff, but it wasn't like that we were like working full time on the game for that period of time. So it's been a long journey, and we're really glad to kind of finally, you know, get to the end. And we're a small team as well. For the most part, we were only 2 people working on it. Now we're 3 people, so we're still very small for the things that we're trying to do. But it's been quite a journey.
Now your release is coming up, and I know we're not going to dive too much into like the specifics of the release date, but I am curious, with that window closing in, do you have plans for launch day? Like, are you taking vacation? Are you going to hang out in forums and read people's responses? Or are you just going to ghost and just completely disappear?
No, we're not going to disappear. We're going to have a close eye. Again, we're 3 people, and we try to catch as many things as we can, but we know that as soon as people get their hands on it, the weirdest things happen. And in the past, we've had some speedrunners play the game as well, and it's always really fun when those people get a hand of a game like ours, because then things like we discover things that we never thought were possible. So we're going to keep a close eye on what's happening and try to be as helpful as possible should there be any issues, and fix them ASAP. And then maybe hopefully get like a little break. A short one.
I've always been curious how speedrunners are looked at in the industry, because, like, number one, they're usually finding bugs to kind of get through a game, and they're glorified kind of like game testers. But I gotta wonder on your end, have they like figured something out to beat it super quick, and you're like, oh man, we're gonna have to go back and fix that?
Yes, it happened. Like we love speedruns, we love that kind of stuff. Like we love watching this, and also for TriFox we had a demo in the past, and there were like, it organically grew that some speedrunners were playing it, and we kind of embraced it. Even made like a little competition, because we love seeing them, you know, finding these weird ways, and especially with our different playstyles and our classes, right? They can do really cool things that make them go really fast, or like, you know, find holes in the level. So it's really fun for us, and we embrace it. Like usually we have a rule that if they find something and it's tricky and it requires skill to perform, we usually leave it in. If it's something that is, you know, that a regular person who has no intention of breaking things or like doing the crazy stuff. If those people can easily bump into it by accident and it kind of ruins the experience, then we fix that, right? But if it's like, and then you need to jump on this, and then you need to do like exact timings for that, and then you have to have a turret on that wall so you can jump and helicopter and blah 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 blah, then we say like, yeah, go for it. We love it. We love seeing that kind of creativity.
That's a very complex conversation to have, you know, like how do you embrace the community, or how do you kind of tame the community that's embracing your game? Was that a conversation that went by really quick that everybody in the studio kind of agreed on, or was there kind of some debate about like, hey, should we really allow that with the people playing our game?
No, like we embrace like all playstyles and all people. So as long as people are having fun, that's the most important thing to us. And
that's awesome.
And that they stay polite. We don't like rude people. That's also a requirement.
That's the key for life. You gotta just
don't be an ass.
Just be nice.
Don't
be an ass. Be nice and play my game. That's all I want.
And be respectful. Like everybody is putting a lot of effort and work in these things, and sometimes also with indies, right? Like they're small teams and people are putting their heart and soul to it, and they're not gonna be the same quality as like a AAA per se, right? We don't have the resources to do that kind of testing and that kind of stuff. So don't be an ass about it, and like just accept it for what it is and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, it's a very challenging thing, and it's heartbreaking for me sometimes seeing like, especially on the indie scene, where you know a game launches and someone's just like, oh, I can't believe they didn't face this. It's like, dude, you're talking about maybe 4 people that are working on this game. They not only have to figure out how you caused that bug, but they probably have like 20 other things in front of that thing that they got to accomplish. But,
I mean, but we also,
it's challenging.
We understand it, right, from a consumer point of view. But sometimes it's just like, right, but it's okay. Like, don't take it too serious. Don't take it personal, and just move on.
Now, your publisher for this is Big Sugar, and they've released a couple cool games. How did your relationship start with Big Sugar? Did you meet them at a convention, or did you pitch the game to them? How did that go down?
Actually, it went through social. We posted some really cool clips on Twitter, and they reached out like, hey, you want to have a chat? And we were looking for a publisher, so we were having active chats with a bunch of different people, and they kind of sneaked in, and we had a chat, and it kind of clicked, right, with the people that we talked to, and we got a good chemistry. So that's kind of how that went.
Now, 8 years in development, this game, when a publisher like Big Sugar comes along, does that cause things to just go quicker? Like, are they helping you port it to other platforms, or what's kind of going on that end?
So, and they came in more near the end, actually, because we had this whole row. So also as a company, we kind of had to like do some side steps and, you know, get invested and all that kind of stuff. But for sure, I mean, definitely getting it on the platforms for small teams, it takes time, right? It's all energy, it's all mental energy, and you need to finish this game, and then you need to do this thing, and you need to do the marketing, and you need to do so many things at the same time that it becomes really tricky to be able to do them all well at the same time. So that's where it really is helpful to have people to work together with that can take that load off you, so you can focus on making sure that the game runs well and that there's no bugs in it and all that kind of stuff. And then they can help with that. Okay, well, we want to get it on this platform. They have the contacts, they have the established connections, right? They can reach those people and kind of speed those things up instead of having like, let's go to the website, let's request it. Hopefully they're going to like us because we're a new studio. And then at some point, you know, they reach out and you can do the stuff. So yeah, and in those aspects, that really helps out.
And as far as platforms go for TriFox, we're talking PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, correct?
Yes, correct. All of those.
And what are we looking at from a release pattern? I know the last thing I saw was late September. Are we still kind of on track for that?
We should be still on track for that. So it's going to be late September, early October.
Yeah. How long have you been making games, first off?
I used to keep track of the actual time, but I kind of forgot. I think I've been doing game dev stuff for the past 15, I think now 16 years. It started out as a hobby, you know, just like having like these level editors for like Red Alert 2, and then, you know, Half-Life, making Half-Life levels, you know, doing some Half-Life modding, that kind of stuff, and it kind of escalated and snowballed over time. So yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while on first hobby, and now really happy to be able to do it as a full-time professional deal.
That's one of the things that I love about gaming is it's very, very punk rock, where it's like, you know, people start off kind of, you know, as a hobby, but then they get into it full time and they realize they can make a career. It's a really, really cool industry from that perspective.
I mean, and we're also, me and my colleague, we also teach at a game dev university here in Belgium. So we also went kind of that trajectory. You know, I was doing it as a hobby, and I already contributed to some commercial projects while I was doing my studies, and then that school popped up, and I also went on a side detour and partook in that course to kind of force me outside of my comfort zone, because I'd always doing the same thing. I was doing level stuff and like some art stuff, and then I forced myself into kind of going in more the programming side, and we also teach there now, so it's been a whole trajectory as well.
Yeah, that almost leads perfectly into my next question, because Glowfish, you guys are based out of Belgium, correct?
Yep.
You know, from a game developer perspective, is it hard to become a game developer in Belgium? Or, I mean, you mentioned you're teaching in the local universities, so is that pretty prevalent at the schools?
It's becoming more and more popular, and also not only because gaming technology, right, it's literally everywhere nowadays. You know, as soon as you open an app on your phone, there's a high probability that there's some game tech in there, right? The game tech is driving all the devices that we're using these days, so it's becoming
or even
more
the
and
movies. You know, you look at the Unreal Engine being in Hollywood.
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
crazy.
like Unreal fully, you know, going all in those real-time visualizations, and even like not even visualizations anymore, right? Like the way they do the Mandalorian and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and in Belgium we have had a history of like having a lot of talent and creative people, and since and the school that we're teaching is Digital Arts and Entertainment, is the name of the course that you can partake in. We've been growing over the past, I think I can't say for sure how many years, but we've been going at it for quite a while, and received numerous awards as well as like best game dev school in the world even. So we're doing a good job, and we have people, you know, our students, they're everywhere. They're you know, from the biggest AAAs to the smallest indie studios all over the world. So yeah, it's a really cool thing to be part of as well.
Well, Brecht, I am very excited to jump into your game when it launches, and I wish you and your team all the success in the world for this game, and I hope it blows up. In regards to people finding out more information about TriFox, where should they go?
So there's a couple of places you can go. Obviously, the Steam page, right? If you go on Steam and search for TriFox, you can wishlist the game there as well. That really helps us out a lot. It's also, I think there's also an Epic page. So on the Epic Store, there's also a page. On GOG, there's also a page. We also have our website, www.trifox-game.com, and you can also find us on Twitter and other socials, all over the place. Whatever you prefer, you can find us.
But Brecht, thank you again for coming on the show, and good luck on the launch. To everybody else watching at home, thank you guys so much for checking out our interview with Glowfish Interactive. Until next time, my name is Bryant. This has been the Nerf Report, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, which who wouldn't, hit the subscribe button right there. And while you're down there, hit the like button. Maybe even consider becoming a Nerf Report best friend, just like the people listed down below did. In fact, don't you want to see your name there? I know I do.